What it is, everybody. Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, whatever you prefer. I believe we have to say Merry Christmas. Is it still Hanukkah? Do you celebrate it? How many Jewish people do we have in the chat? We have to check. Skeptical Gary says Alex Jones. We know we can trust him, right? He doesn't work for the Jews. Oh, that's right, he does. Well, don't we all, in a way, work for the Jews? Isn't that just the way it goes? So I welcome everybody to the show today for a conversation and some news. There are lots of things going on in the news for a holiday week. The Epstein files keep being released in a drip, drip, drip fashion, which kind of makes it, I don't know, kind of worse for the Trump administration, because if they had dumped them all at once, I feel like it would have gotten over with quickly. Now it extends. Every single day there's something new for people to be upset about with the Trump administration. Thanks, Buddha Girl. I'm in a new location today. My camera placement is different. It has me crooked for some reason. I'm on a laptop. I have to look down to see what you guys are doing. But thank you. I like the background too. I'll save it for when I get back home to my other abode. Thanks for that. Yeah, I said to make it look like I'm in a nice house in Cambria. I asked Gemini to do it for me. My friend Gemini. Well, we have the end of the TPUSA event, which we've been reporting on. That happened Sunday with JD Vance. We have a continuing civil war going on. And it is, as far as I can tell, it's between Zionists and everybody else. But there are lots of genuine non-Zio bots who agree with Ben Shapiro and think he gave a very brave speech at TPUSA where he asked everybody to be brave themselves and stand up against conspiracy theories and Jew hatred, basically. And JD Vance didn't do that. And the coronation of JD Vance may or may not be in doubt. I kind of saw it coming. So we're going to talk about that today too. We're inviting people with the title to continue with the Alex Jones and Candace Owens drama. Candace Owens is off for the holidays, so many of our fans are in withdrawal at the moment. I don't think she'll be doing a stream to defend herself from all of the people on the internet who are trying to break down her claims. She is still posting on Twitter though, so I'm going to cover it. I'm not going to spend the whole show on it. But I want to welcome people to debate it and see where it's at. We'll just mention where we're at with the evidence that Erica Kirk, the current accusations, which are implied but not made because she doesn't want to get sued. This is Candace Owens I'm talking about, are that TPUSA, head of security Brian Harpole, Erica Kirk, it sounds like it's kind of implied that Erica Kirk is the mastermind, but it's not said explicitly, so don't stick me to that, behind her husband's murder. And now it's implied that she was having an affair with this guy, Cabot, who she apparently dated before at Daily Wire. So that is heavily implied now. So it's turned into it really is a soap opera. It's turned into an affair kind of thing. Somebody is accusing them of having a child together before. So I don't know. Maybe you have Candace fatigue, or maybe you're joining me because you're a Candace Owens fan and are waiting for the next shoe to drop. But I'll just talk about it a little bit. Alex Jones is accusing her of having mental health issues, which a lot of people took offense to. Maybe I take offense to too. A lot of people are saying Alex Jones should have handled it differently. But I've tuned into Alex Jones' show today. A lot of his show is dedicated to Candace Owens at this time and trying to discredit her and her last guest, Mitch, using a lot of the evidence which I used, basically. Skeptical Gary says, anybody attacking Candace is working for the Talmudic cabal. Well, that's a lot of people now, because I kind of do too. So you'll have to accuse me of taking the money from the Jews. And actually, I got banned from PayPal because apparently I'm a raging anti-Semite. So I didn't win Anti-Semite of the Year award, though. That was given out. I haven't ever been in the running. If I had a bigger platform, they probably would put me in the running, even though I'm not an anti-Semite. I actually like Jewish people. But I'm a critic of Zionism in the state of Israel. And that's the same thing to a lot of people. Pirate Justin is willing to identify himself as antiseptic. I appreciate that, Pirate Justin. Michael McCartney Jr. says, I have fatigue in general, everything, and none of those TPUSA podcasters can fix it. Yeah, well, it's a war between podcasters. It certainly seems like an ego battle. It's a war for what people perceive of as the conservative movement. And it's little Benny Shapiro, whose platform, his personal show is failing, in the sense that you're kind of dead to some extent if you're losing subscribers and not growing. If you're not growing, you're kind of dead. And he's not growing anymore. He's now losing subscribers, which Megyn Kelly pointed out. Megyn Kelly is accusing Jewish people of causing anti-Semitism, and that has made the ADL very upset with her. And probably she'll be on the list next year for Anti-Semite of the Year. Maddie Brown says Tim Pool is tanking. Well, he's tanking and he seems like he doesn't care. A lot of people are disenchanted right now with the way things are going because it's just a lot of personal attacks. And JD Vance came on. I'll play you what JD Vance said. And which it shouldn't be controversial, but is controversial. People who are Zionists, it seems like. That seems to be the main problem with JD Vance, is he's not going to be pro-Israel enough for the Zionist cause. And probably then for wealthy Jewish donors. Laura Loomer isn't happy with JD Vance. Somehow, Donald Trump was able to be friends with Saudi Arabia and Qatar and is able to tell Israel what to do. And he's telling them not to attack Iran, which they want, Israel wants us to do right now. So I'll cover that in the news. Israel is trying to rope us into an attack on Iran because Iran apparently Israel just doesn't want them to be able to defend themselves, basically, for the Greater Israel Project. Steve Bannon is a big fan of Israel, typically. He was always pro-Israel, but now I don't know if it's because of the shifting tides, but he is against the Greater Israel Project and wants to cut them off monetarily. So we can talk about that too. Skeptical Gary says, trying to Israel will decide what USA does. Well, to be fair to Donald Trump, he is keeping them in check. He chastised them. He made them apologize for attacking Hamas in Qatar. He's really good friends with Qatar and some of the Muslims, which probably they don't like. It's just that overall, he's been supportive enough to be called the first Jewish president. But JD Vance isn't going to go down that road. And it's interesting. Donald Trump has a magical quality to him, which is that he's able to not denounce Tucker Carlson, not denounce Nick Fuentes. He's able to ride the fence effectively because of all of the things, I guess, it seems like he's done for the state of Israel, moving the embassy, giving them the Golan Heights, or recognizing the Golan Heights. I guess he can't give it to them, but recognizing the Golan Heights as their property, moving the embassy, which are things he did for Miriam Adelson for money. Hey, Prague. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Are you just coming out as gay today? It's okay to be gay. This is a show that actually, this is an interesting show, the Lift the Veil show. We are not a political podcast exactly, although we are kind of. People accuse us of trying to be mainstream politics, but I'm not a mainstream podcasting conservative for sure, because I don't go out of my way to criticize Dave Rubin, for example, for being a homo with a couple of adopted kids, which a lot of people do. Mark Dice and a lot of people. That's the current state of things. I don't think JD Vance is going to go out his way. He's trying to make a big tent party, which a lot of people don't like. So anyway, let me play my intro. I'll play a clip from I will play a clip from Dave Chappelle, a few clips. One of them, which is people like, one of them, which people don't like. And then we'll just talk about things, okay? All right. Thank you for joining us for the show. Here's my old intro to get us started. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman, and I bring you the news, the real news. Oh, I have to do something special to be able to share a screen, okay? I'm on a different computer today. Google Chrome. Oh, no. No. This is not good, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have to reach out for an emergency. I may not be able to share my screen with you because the person whose computer I'm using does not want to give up their password, and I need it to share my screen with you. Oh my goodness. I thought I had everything fixed. Let's see. Maybe I can do it. Let's see. Oh, good. I can. No problem. I was panicked. Let's see. Sound and everything. Okay, good. I'll play this clip and then we'll get started. Then we'll talk about how you can give me super chats and all that stuff. Let's see. It's on the screen. It's good. All right. This is Dave Chappelle. He did a new comedy special. Said some things which are very controversial to certain people, which was to be this clip.
The fear that I have for myself that I need you to protect me from is co-option. My voice has become more powerful than I intended it to be. And I cannot let these niggas do me like Charlie Kirk, or even worse than that. What if these niggas trip me up somehow, co-opt me, and then make me say the things that they want me to say? Well, we can't have that. So, just in case, we need a code. It's got to be something that I can say so that if I say it, you know that these niggas got me. And don't listen to nothing that I say after I say those words. But don't tell anybody what it is, but it's got to be something that, you know what I mean, that I would never say. Oh, I know what the code is. The code word is, I stand with Israel. Thank you very much, and good night.
All right. People are saying the volume is really low. Unfortunately, I don't have volume controls with this streaming software. It's something I've always not liked. Let me play another video for you and see if the volume is better. Hopefully it's not because of what it told me. He said the secret code is I stand with Israel. So you have to wonder if people were literally trying to get him to say that while Israel was bombing children in Gaza. Because I can imagine maybe they were, and maybe he's had a little experience with Jews telling him to say stuff like that. So let me play another video for you and see if the sound is louder. It sounded okay in my headphones. Unfortunately, yeah, I just don't have, let's see. No, I can mute the audio, but I don't have the ability, audio. No, I don't have the ability to turn up the audio. So let's try one more video, also of Dave Chappelle, and see if it's better. This is Dave Chappelle talking about that nigga Charlie Kirk. I like how he calls Jews niggas and he calls Charlie Kirk a nigga. That's good. I think we can all be niggas. White ass nigga going hard as fuck, as they say. Wang half, if you guys catch that reference. Let's see if this is better, and then we'll just pray for this show going well today. Let's see.
And the whites were quick to say this. They said, Charlie Kirk is this generation's Martin Luther King. No, he's not. Yeah, that's a reach. You know, they both got murdered in a terrible fashion. They both got shot in the neck, but that's about where those similarities end. Charlie Kirk is a motherfucking internet personality. No, by design. Fundamentally, you can't function like Dr. King. Internet niggas are negative because they have to be. Because nobody will engage them unless they say shit that makes them upset. That's Charlie Kirk. Could you imagine Dr. King was behaving like Charlie Kirk? Smash that like button and subscribe. Follow me for more content like this. I believe all black people should be free. Change my mind.
I think he's mixing metaphors with the change my mind. That's Steven Crowder, I believe. One of those internet niggas that he's talking about. So anyway, that was disappointing to many people who think he wasn't honoring the memory of Charlie Kirk, but he's got a point. I mean, the point is that it is all internet niggas now that are kind of controlling politics and think that they can define what the conservative movement is all about. I mean, so much of like the conservative movement has turned into podcasters pretty much. And I think Chappelle is kind of right that people have to be a little bit extreme or generate a little bit of hate to get the clicks and stuff. Although Charlie Kirk, I didn't watch the show. Wasn't interesting to me. I wasn't an enemy of Charlie Kirk. Although I guess I could have been. I mean, the Charlie Kirk organization was designed to, in at least one sense, to push Christian Zionism in a large extent and keep the youth on board with that. At the end, Charlie Kirk was upset with many of his Jewish donors. Pretty much people get upset when they get called anti-Semites for saying things like, oh, maybe we should cut off aid to Israel, or maybe we should look into why it took so long to respond to October 7th, or was there a stand down order on October 7th? Then you just get called an anti-Semite, even though Charlie Kirk clearly was not. And then you get upset. And actually, I've seen defense of that. I didn't say the video of it. I've seen defense of it. Someone asked a question of somebody else, like, "Hey, because Megyn Kelly is blaming Jewish people, Ben Shapiro and Barry Weiss, of creating anti-Semites." That's in the news. So let's I'll get to it. I'll get to that. Teresa Call said nothing wrong with that, really. His criticism of Charlie Kirk, just say he's not Martin Luther King. Fair enough, right? I still like him. I don't hold it against him at all. He's going to have opinions that are controversial for everybody. That's good. If he gives one controversial opinion people like and one controversial opinion you don't like, well, that's human, I think. I certainly do that too. Soulfly, that's right. Mark Levin. People are pointing out that Megyn Kelly is only criticizing Jewish people. And so basically they're calling her an anti-Semite, which she already says she doesn't like because she's been a supporter of Israel forever, especially on Fox News. So the Zionist cause is losing friends quickly. And some of their only friends that remain happen to be Jewish. So I try my hardest. Well, I don't want to be demonetized. Well, and I am already for being hateful. And I already got my PayPal canceled, probably for making a video. If I had to pick a video that got my PayPal canceled, it was probably my video about Chabad Lubavitch. And it could have been a rich Jewish person named Gabe Hoffman, who used to have a lot of influence on the internet. But now that everybody is on the other side, he seems to have faded back into the background. But I've been called a Holocaust denier and all that stuff. And I assume that's why I got banned from certain payment services. So Hiker Chick says, since when did questioning Israel become anti-Semitic? Since a long time. It used to be just all you have to do is get called anti-Semitic by some Jewish group, and that's it. You're done. But now it's different. And Donald Trump reminds people, oh yeah, you used to just have to support Israel 100%. Otherwise, you were done in politics. So it's different now. We are seeing the landscape be redeveloped. Anyway, let's talk, since I brought it up in the title and people might be interested, let's talk about Candace Owens. So here's the deal. I'm not even going to play clips of Alex Jones because they're not super interesting. Alex Jones is regurgitating other people's research. I mean, he could be watching my show. He does follow me on Twitter. Basically, I put out something, and then a few days later, a big account puts out the same thing, like it's their own original research. I have no idea. I have no engagement on Twitter. But people pointed out things about Mitch. Alex Jones played exactly the same clip that I played on my show. And Candace Owens fans probably watched it before commenting on it. I don't know. But it was the story about Mitch being imprisoned by his wife, who attacked him with a hammer, broke his thumbs, smashed his skull. And it seemed unbelievable because he was supposedly special forces and he's a big guy. I just think about my wife or ex-wife kind of attacking me with a hammer, and it wouldn't, or trying to imprison me somewhere. It would be very difficult. Women are small and typically don't get violent, actually, unless they're, and then he would just take away the hammer. I mean, it's a ridiculous story. It was not evidence, though. I will say that. Alex Jones came out and he said, I'm going to show absolute evidence that Candace Owens was wrong. And then he came out and he just played a clip and he was like, he's lying, but you can't prove he's lying about it. But it did sound fantastical to me, enough that I did play it on my show where I said Mitch was exposed and so forth. Leaving the West says that Mitch's guy is a bug job. Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's the deal. Candace Owens had on a gal. Candace Owens, for the most part, had been just asking questions. Although she slipped a number of times and accused TPUSA of being in on a cover-up. So that was an accusation. We love asking questions. Oh, yeah. If you want to support the show, that reminds me. If you want to support this show, we are not paid by Israel. They would never fund us. In fact, we have enemies that want to destroy us, or have in the past, because of our opinions about Israel and sometimes Judaism. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. That's because my channel, unlike Candace's, is not monetized. And that's good because buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil is much more, what do you call it? It's better because YouTube takes 30% of super chats. Although we'll see. I'm trying to get remonetized so you guys can do that because I know it's more fun. But go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. You can buy me one or many coffees and you can leave a message and I'll read it before the end of the show. And you can do it anytime also, even when I'm not live. Also, we have t-shirts, our own store, which is going out of business, which is called Truth Revolution Clothing, truthclothing.io. And we are doing a going out of business sale. This is the website. Let's see, I can show it to you. This is the website. See, question everything. That style is still available. So just go to main shop and store. And this is the shirts we have left. I'm in the room with our inventory right now. So we still have a number of shirts left. Like this, I can feature this one today. This is one of our best-selling designs. Propaganda. People love it when they see it in public. It's a good one that gets great response. This was a $30 item. It's $10 and available in many sizes. Still small, medium, large, extra, extra large. So that is still in stock. To my surprise, I thought it was probably almost all sold out. So get one of those if you want, or multiples. They will never be produced again, most likely. Most likely, we will not be producing t-shirts again. Question everything we have in several styles. Check those out while you can still get your size. We have Bitcoin shirts and Litecoin shirts. And some of them are, the Bitcoin shirts are $10 each. Crypto futures, this is a great shirt, $10, way below wholesale. And we have these shirts. I looked at the bin and it looks like we still have them. These are made in the United States of America. These were made during the mask era. These are made in America with cotton grown by Americans, and they're $5. They should have been like $50 considering how much they cost. So just buy multiples, sleep in them, whatever. We have these Vagabond tees still. That's for the last American Vagabond who we're partners with. And we have these question everything in women's specific styles, slouchy and a women's tee, $10 each. Check them out, truthclothing.io. Buy them while you still can. I know Christmas is already here, but you don't have to buy them for Christmas. Just buy them for yourself and your friends. All right. Okay. Sounds good. So anyway, username, that's a good idea. I'm buying 12. Good for you. Yeah, we have great prices. Unlike Trump's America, where everything's expensive, our store is still cheap. All right, so Alex Jones came out and he said, I'm going to release evidence on Candace Owens. At first, he didn't release any evidence. He just said that Mitch is a liar. Some people in the chat agree with that. Candace Owens today, to refute claims, which nobody made, but to refute claims which nobody made, has something that looks like looks weird. People are saying it's actually fake. I don't think it's fake. It sounds real, which is a police report, which I'm not going to show you up close because she actually doxed him. Apparently he was in witness protection or they used a fake name, but it shows that he wasn't really using a fake name. Although in this report, it says he's Michael Snow, but he's been going by Mitch Snow for a long time. A lot of people were trying to say that they actually made up the name Mitch for him to be on her show, but that's not true. He's gone by Mitch Snow for a long time. He's on the internet. And he appeared on a podcast earlier this year with a totally different story, which sounded fantastical at the time, including getting attacked by his wife with a hammer. And then, and also he said his wife sicked his dog on his child, which was also similarly hard to believe. She also doxed his driver's license number, which doesn't seem very nice. Nice way to treat a guest who's in hiding. But she doxed his driver's license number. She doxed his real name, apparently, although I think his name is actually Mitch, and maybe I got it wrong in the report. The report states that he was acting weird on a military base, so much so that they had to shut down buildings and bomb sniff his backpack. He was acting so erratic on this military base, which people say wouldn't have had the records he was looking for anyway, that he got held by the police. She claims, Candace, that is, claims that she is vindicated. She says, find your favorite podcaster who joined the psychological operation to convince you Mitch was lying about having been in Fort Huachuca. But I think that's what you call a straw man argument, because nobody's disputing that Mitch was at Fort Huachuca. What people are disputing is that he has a checkered past as a wife beater and as a serial fabricator and as possibly like a schizo, which this report does nothing to refute. If anything, it actually makes it more likely, because he was, like I said, acting so strange at the military base, according to this report, that they had to shut stuff down and sniff his backpack. So Alex claims that there are lawsuits coming, but I don't know if she can be sued for what she said or having this guest on, because he said he wasn't 100% sure, for one thing, even though he said 99%. And she still has to say in every post that she doesn't know if he's remembers correctly. So she says it every time herself, that she doesn't know if he remembers it correctly. And then she just throws shade at everybody. And now is trying to throw in this Cabot person. Because she's trying to imply that there was an affair going on and that this Cabot person was involved too. So anyway, that's what she released today. She also revealed Brian Harpole, who was accused of being there, and this congressman was accused, Amodi was accused of being there for a 7:30 a.m. Fort Huachuca is in, I want to remember correctly, I believe Arizona. So the congressman released evidence, including a video, and a voting record, which he said makes it so that he could not have possibly been there for the meeting. The posts where he said that were actually community noted by Candace Owens supporters, who said that he didn't vote until late in the day, and therefore he could have been there. However, what people are saying now, he also released a video of a 12-hour session in Congress. So the first person to give an alibi that I believe is a real alibi, even though people are trying to deny it, because he was seen on that video at 11 a.m. Eastern time, which would have been 8 a.m. Arizona time, which would leave him no time to have been there at 7:30 a.m. or 7:37 a.m. So that guy seems to have given a real alibi where he just so happened to be on camera at the time where he could not have possibly been there. So one guy seems to have actually debunked the claims, in my opinion, because he's on camera at the wrong time. Brian Harpole gave out information which he says debunks the claims. This is a process error by Candace Owens, where I just, as far as journalism goes, there are certain procedures you're supposed to follow, which I haven't always followed. So I'm coming at you as somebody who's not perfect. But the guy came on to make the claim that he saw all of these people at this secret meeting in Arizona and saw Erica Kirk the night before, not at the secret meeting, without, it seems like, asking them first. Although maybe she did ask Erica, and Erica told her she wasn't there, and she went ahead with it anyway, without evidence. And that's not like the mainstream media saying it, because I know they say that all the time, without evidence. But the claims were made without evidence. Candace Owens has zero evidence. She has a very sketchy guy who's claiming based on memory, where he didn't know any of these people before seeing them, but after seeing them on TV or on video after Charlie Kirk's assassination, decided in retrospect that he had seen them, which is super unreliable. And Candace admits it because she doesn't want to get sued. She wants to make implications, she wants to make accusations, but she knows enough, for the most part, to not say things at this point which would get her sued, which maybe she was threatened with when she met with Erica Kirk. But I don't think she's actually said anything as far as this part goes that she can necessarily successfully be sued over, because she keeps saying, I don't know if it's true, while continuing to make implications and accusations. So anyway, this guy produced flight records. This guy, Brian Harpole, the head of security at TPUSA, produced flight records which show that he flew to Dallas, which is a long way from Fort Huachuca, at least a 2-hour flight. And then he would have had, here's the deal. He flew to Dallas on the 7th, arriving the 8th in the morning, and then flew out of Dallas. This is the important thing. Flew out of Dallas at 1:42 p.m. Dallas time, which would have been 11:42 a.m. Arizona time. And he claims that that is his alibi, which is that he was in Dallas, Texas. That's not good enough for Candace Owens, who asked him after she made the accusations with the guest on her show, after she made the accusations that he was there with the guest made the accusations. Then she called Brian. You're supposed to do it in reverse. You're supposed to ask him in advance. And then if he says no, this is the way it's supposed to work. If it was journalism, she would have known what this guy was going to say in advance, which is that he accused Brian Harpole, Erica Kirk, and Congressman Amodai. At least Erica and Brian, she should have been able to get in touch with in advance. If they denied it without any evidence, that should have been enough to stop the story and she should never have had the guest on, as far as like journalism goes, because some people want to accuse Candace of being a journalist. Just a denial with no alibi, no evidence. They don't need evidence. Candace needs evidence. People are really confused about this. They think you just make an accusation and then you are entitled to somebody providing an alibi because you made an allegation without any evidence. That's not the way it works in the real world. So just so people know who follow Candace, I know that's controversial, but this has been provided. He was on a plane at 11:42 a.m. Arizona time, which if he got a direct flight, it's theoretically possible that he could have secretly also flown to Fort Huachuca if he had a private plane, but he flies commercial. If he was flying commercial, it's impossible. So this is the remaining evidence. And so people are going to say he doesn't have an alibi. He has a pretty good alibi. I would say pretty damn good, that he was in Dallas, which is far from Arizona. He would have needed some kind of secret private plane. Okay. So that's his alibi, which again is enough to discredit it. It would have been enough for them to deny it. She, as far as journalism, should have never had this guest on, besides the fact that he's super shady. But she found out that he provided evidence that he was in Dallas at certain times. If his flight was at 11:42 a.m. Arizona time, he would have had to get there early. So it's a very, very, very tight window. It's a long stretch to say, oh, he could have been there anyway. And in any case, her evidence has her guest being detained at 11 in the after 11 a.m. So it doesn't prove that he was there that early in the morning. If anything, it suggests that he was there later than he says. So anyway, I'm trying to help people out because I'm I'm in the same, because I'm into conspiracy theories and stuff. But people have to realize that this is a bad conspiracy theory. And the people, there are Candace Owens fans who are like, oh, this guy was a plant to discredit Candace Owens. Well, if you're going to go with the conspiracy theory, that's closer to the truth. Because it's just going to do it just does a lot of damage to her. Almost all of her supporters, besides the really fringe ones, have abandoned ship at this point. Hodge twins, Evan Kilgore, Alex Jones, who, almost everybody. And that's not an indication that you're over the target as much as you want to stretch it. It's not. It's just that people disagree with you. But Mikey says Israel was sponsoring Kirk, and after Kirk started criticizing Israel, they took him out. While he was meeting with them allegedly the day before he got assassinated, trying to figure out how to have Israel's back better. Apparently. So you would have to not believe that, which is fine. You don't have to. Could be a cover story, I guess. But I don't think he had abandoned Israel. He had some personal problems that he was texting people about, but he was still more of an asset than a liability because he wasn't Tucker Carlson and he wasn't Nick Fuentes, even though he was friends with Tucker, which was problematic for the Zionists. But it's a stretch. And anyway, she's both accusing Israel some streams and not accusing Israel some streams. So she's accusing more of the military and his wife at this point, Erica. Anyway, I'm tired. I'm a little tired of it, but I still follow it. It's a cult is the thing. I try to break cult mentality. Just like I did a very unpopular thing by attacking QAnon from like almost the day after it came out. Very unpopular, but it was a cult. And what Candace is doing is, it's pretty much a cult at this point. The more people attack her, the more they're becoming, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you leave the cult, you get attacked. So, you know what I mean? That's how a cult is. So now if you were a part of the cult and you just start questioning things, people start attacking you. That's not a good sign. So I'm actually trying to help people heal a little bit because it's going to be disconcerting for all these people who think that she was getting towards the truth. And the only claims she's made have been debunked. The Egyptian planes, it seems like they've been debunked. And if you want evidence of that, well, she said that many days ago that she would post her updated post about the Egyptian planes to give people the accurate timeline and prove that she was right. And that hasn't come out yet. So you can speculate as to why that is. But it's probably because she doesn't have the evidence and there's nothing she can post. But we'll see if she posts that. We're going to follow it, but Birdman, that's more accurate, which is that Charlie's audience was giving him a problem and he had to hold his audience by becoming a limited hangout. That's what Charlie Kirk was trying to become, is a limited hangout or controlled opposition. That's what he was trying to become. Because he couldn't hold his audience anymore by just being totally 100% Israel. And his personal beliefs changed. I mean, I believe it. His personal beliefs changed, but he was still trying to hold it together. And you can see why, because many people are very popular and super Zionists, like Scott Jennings on CNN, who everybody liked, who supports Trump. Now he's not on board. He's not on board with Tucker. He's not on board with JD. People are not going to be on board with JD Vance. And they're super powerful. Jewish donors have a ton of money, and Jewish influencers are big. They're powerful. And the ones that aren't Jewish are just Zionists. People like Lindsey Graham and stuff like that are going to be a problem too. It's not holding together. The conservative coalition, I mean, Laura Loomer, big deal influencer. Obviously, she's Jewish and obviously pro-Zionist. Does not like JD Vance, who Charlie did like. And Charlie did like Tucker. People hate Tucker. A large amount of people who all pretty much are pro-Israel. So Phil says it's super unfortunate our government deceives us constantly. Well, that's what Candace Owens is using to keep people. That's what I see, at least. Like, I'm trying to analyze it as well as I can. Because she has shown people legitimately that you can't trust the government, and nobody trusts the government anymore. And she's anti-Israel, which a lot of people are legitimately. People still are hanging on. And it's true, you can't trust the government, especially in even the current government. Nobody trusts the FBI. Nobody trusts the CIA. Nobody trusts the government, which is smart. But certain other things like the book she referred to and the transatlantic slave trade thing, those are also kind of psyops. And I bought into that before too, the transatlantic slave trade being controlled by Jewish people. Apparently it really wasn't. There were some Jewish slave owners, but according to, I mean, I hate to just go to mainstream research and stuff like that, but it seems like it's been well researched. I believed it because I kept hearing it, that Jewish people were primarily responsible for the transatlantic slave trade, but it looks like that was really like a Louis Farrakhan thing, mostly. And then the book Candace held up on her show, The Talmudic Jew, that apparently is quite anti-Semitic, that book. And that guy was like disgraced and stuff. So it's actually, people should ask themselves, like, what she did on her last show about Jews was very anti-Semitic. And like with what are genuinely kind of anti-Semitic tropes and stuff, which have kind of actually been debunked, to the extent that she broke YouTube terms of service on her last show blatantly, and is still monetized and is still promoted by YouTube, which is weird considering, like, for example, I've been mildly critical and try to use evidence and stuff like that, and I'm demonetized, probably for vaccines, but I would have been for stuff I said that was true about things like Chabad Lubavitch. But things she said on her last show were actually legitimately basically anti-Semitic to the point where she should get a strike and stuff. But I'm not trying to get her demonetized or get her to shut up or any of those other things. I don't hate Candace Owens, but she has to do a little bit better research. That book she held up is apparently basically goes along with, it would be like holding up the protocols of the elders of Zion, which is a super interesting document, but maybe also anti-Semitic propaganda. So we have to recognize that there is such a thing as anti-Semitic propaganda, which there is. The Talmud definitely says things, and I'm very critical. Judaism definitely says things that lead to supremacy. But some of the stuff she referenced is kind of messed up, actually. So just to be fair. Also, once you go down this route where Candace is at right now, then you're a slave to your fans who will now attack you if you go the wrong way. So Candace put out a tweet, which her fans started attacking her over, which she actually had to delete. So she's trying to go back to politics, or she said something like she would have used to say about politics and had to delete it because her fans started reacting so badly to it. And that's this tweet here, where she said, "Fantastic to see Vance and Trump defend Tucker from these goblins." She has taught her cult to hate Trump so much and politics kind of in general that they started to revolt over that tweet, and she actually deleted it. So it's gotten to the point where she won't even stand behind things she actually believes in. She's kind of become a slave, you know? So Phil says anti-Semitic propaganda to combat the Zionist propaganda. Well, it's difficult. Yes, like it's good to point out the Zionist propaganda, which there's a ton of, and it's mainstream. But combating it with stuff that's kind of been debunked for real, makes it harder for people to defend you. But people still are. I'm actually surprised Megyn Kelly is still defending her and Tucker Carlson and stuff. I'm actually kind of surprised. Megyn Kelly told her to stop, though, in her interview on TPUSA stage. Megyn Kelly did tell her to stop accusing TPUSA and Erica Kirk. 13 and Joe Wizard says Lift the Veil is literal pot-belly goblin. Thank you. I do have a little bit of a belly. I'm trying to figure out how. I walk every day to try to, and I don't eat that much, but I do kind of have a pot belly, and I can understand being called a goblin. So I'll try to work on that. Thank you. Hiker Chick says the only nation who claims racism if you just question them. Yes. And then I saw something today at TPUSA. The number one concern is radical Islam. And I read something else today that said Israel is testing how to turn things around in America, where people are super skeptical of Israel now. All the polls say it, especially the young people, and the young people are the future. So Israel knows that if the young people grow up, and that's JD Vance basically, and are okay with being skeptical of Israel, that's going to be a problem. Well, the thing that tests the best for Israel, the thing that tests the best, that gets people to turn around their opinions about Gaza, about what they're doing in Gaza, and about trying to expand and killing brown people indiscriminately, is radical Islam. So just recognize, I realize that Islam that forms of Islam which are incompatible with our way of life, especially equal rights, which we have for women. But it's also a psyop at the same time by the same forces that people don't like, to make people think that the bigger problem in America is Islamic influence rather than Jewish influence. And anytime you say the government is controlled by Jewish influence, they'll try to tell you the government is being taken over by Islam, which in America, although it could be the case in the future, is not currently the case in this country. So Rob says, like him for this. Yeah, like the video. Thanks. Thanks for tuning in. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. We are truly heterodox on this channel. Truly. Some things you'll like, some things you won't like. Do you want to see Rob Schneider roasting Candace Owens? He wasn't funny. It wasn't a funny roast of Candace Owens. It was pretty predictable. So I don't need to play it. But TPUSA's point of view is they don't like Candace, but they do like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, basically. They don't like Candace and they don't like Nick. So, but they do like Tucker and they do like Megyn. W. Birkin Umbrella Corp says, if you're going to insult Nathan, at least buy him a coffee when you do it. I appreciate that. I love that. If I could be, it's wonderful to get people that hate you to give you super chats. That's just got to be the best feeling on earth. Okay. So I'm not going to play Rob Schneider. It's just stupid. I didn't play Alex Jones. I mean, I'm not saying the people attacking her are geniuses or anything. Now it's popular to attack Candace. So people were scared before and are still scared a little bit to attack Candace, especially people that have built a following by supporting Candace and riding on her coattails. They're very afraid of going the other way because of what their followers are going to say. So, and I've gotten the bad comments too. People just say like reflexively that I'm being paid by the Jews, that I get my $7,000 and stuff. But if people knew my history, they would realize that that wasn't the case. You can say that more about Alex Jones than about me. I will say that this was an interview about Erica meeting with Candace Owens. I haven't listened to it, but this is her talking about her meeting with Candace in a way that's different than Candace reported it. And then we're going to be wrapped on Candace. Then we'll get to Epstein and other stuff. So anyway, let's just listen to this because I haven't heard it yet.
Did you feel like you have common ground? You have some common ground with Candace? I mean, you both want to honor Charlie's legacy, it seems. I mean, you both say that you want to know exactly what happened. Do you feel like there was some common meeting of the minds there?
I'm not going to speak on her behalf. But what I do know is that my COO and myself, when we walked into that meeting, we were very intentional with why we were there, provided what we wanted to provide to show context and also to show we have nothing to hide, never will have anything to hide. And you just let the Lord do the rest. But I'm not going to sit and judge how anyone interpreted anything outside of myself. So I pray for her. I pray for her family. And let the Lord handle the rest. We're building. I don't have time for the noise. I said my piece, and that's it. And we get back to work.
Did you feel like you have common ground? You have some.
There you go. That's what she said. Smokey, yeah. Nathan is my name. Nathan Stoltman. It's a very Ashkenazi kind of name. So I may be Jewish. That's my defense for anything I say that's critical. But we don't know that though. I haven't gotten the DNA. test yet. All right, that's it. All right, so last chance. See, some people say this. So good. We have a mixed, this is what we like. We like people that have different opinions here. Some people think Candace is crazy. Some people think Candace is correct. So that's good. That's okay. Disagreements are good. Unless you are pro-Zionist, and then the disagreements are bad. So actually, I'll skip ahead from the Epstein news. I might go back to it and just go to what J.D. Vance said at the TPUSA show, which the pro-Zionist people do not like. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of backlash against J.D. Vance. Charlie apparently really liked him. Erica Kirk wasn't going to endorse him at first. But I think because Charlie really liked him, and I don't know what the other reasons are, TPUSA came out way early and endorsed J.D. Vance to be president way early, 3 years before the election, which is kind of crazy. He is leading all the polls, and little Ted Cruz, or Israel Ted Cruz, is not. But I predict that many of these accounts that don't like Tucker or Meghan also don't like JD because of what he said here. So I'll play that.
Side of you, I mean all of you, each and every one. President Trump did not build the greatest coalition in politics by running his supporters through endless, self-defeating purity tests. He says, make America great again because every American is invited.
Even the Jew haters, that's what they'll say.
We don't care if you're white or black, rich or poor, young or old, rural or urban, controversial or a little bit boring, or somewhere in between. People of every faith come to our banner because they know that the America First movement will make their lives better, and they also know that the Democrats don't care about anything other than maybe transing their kids. So if you love America, if you want all of us to be richer, stronger, safer, and prouder, you have a home on this team.
Even if you're racist.
I didn't bring a list of conservatives to denounce or to deplatform, and I don't really care if some people out there, I'm sure we'll have the fake news media, denounce me after this speech. But let me just say, the best way to honor Charlie is that none of us here should be doing something after Charlie's death that he himself refused to do in life. He invited all of us here. Charlie invited all of us here for a reason, because he believed that each of us, all of us, had something worth saying, and he trusted all of you to make your own judgment. And we have far more.
There we go. So people took that as also meaning that he won't denounce Nick Fuentes and his followers. People took it to mean that. He went ahead and did denounce Nick Fuentes in an interview with a British publication, but that's not good enough for Conservative Inc. Well, who knows what the fuck Conservative Inc. is. People are trying to play both sides as long as possible, but there are clear fractures, very clear. Big voices. Like, like I said, Scott Jennings, who's on CNN, this lady Batya is really coming out hard against him. Here's an example of a tweet. Carrie Smith deprogrammed. That's a YouTuber. This only has 15,000 views, but she's somebody I guess I follow. Well, I was soft on Vance. I liked him a lot, but just based on the speech I just played you, you'll see many of these comments. But this is either incredibly stupid or incredibly dishonest about what's happening. Adios. So that's somebody that was lost just because JD Vance said he won't denounce Tucker. It's basically just Tucker. And it's because Tucker is very critical of Israel and Jewish supremacy. Tucker speaks in coded language about Jewish supremacy a little bit, which I'm sure Jewish people pick up on. He doesn't like killing innocent Palestinians, which most Jews in Israel, if they're not ambivalent about it, sometimes are very supportive of it. Okay, you'll hear the things like there is no such thing as an innocent Palestinian, for example. Kill them all, or they'll say turn Gaza into a parking lot. That's considered something that should be defended, which Tucker will never defend. Tucker is not anti-Semitic, but he's not supportive of that kind of Jewish supremacy. And he's also not, he doesn't have the hatred toward Muslims, which seems to be like an Israeli Jewish value. So Tucker speaks a lot about not being racist or not of anybody, which I think is a very Christian thing to say. But the Jewish religion, in many ways, is a supremacist. If you follow some of the things in the Talmud, Jewish people will tell you the Talmud is meant to be debated. I'm sure not a lot of Jewish people are just atheists, but the religion is based on the idea that Jewish people are special because of their blood. And that's one of the things Tucker Carlson rejects outright, which Christian Zionists and good Jewish people don't want you to reject. We want to all agree that Jewish people are special and deserve some kind of special protection, which you'll notice the conservative movement does not have special protection for other groups. The conservative movement is okay hating gay people. The conservative movement is okay hating Muslims. The conservative movement is okay hating blacks. Now, JD Vance isn't like that, and Tucker isn't like that. But a lot of the conservative movement is like that. And the Zionist part of that doesn't mind if you hate black people, if you hate Muslims, you'll notice. So, or hating white people for that matter. I see somebody say in the chat. Teresa Call says most people aren't okay with that as well. Yeah, the independents, who the right is losing, are not okay with that. And that's why they're not okay with someone like Nick Fuentes, who makes a lot of really good points. And is very smart when it comes to geopolitics, and he's very well read. And he doesn't hate Islam, which people don't like him for. But he is pretty racist against black people. Yeah, which is fair in many ways to point out the disproportionate crime statistics and things like that. I think that's very fair. But he is a white nationalist, which is just another form. He claims not to be a white supremacist, but he basically is. Now, I like Nick Fuentes' show a lot. I mean, I don't watch it all the time. I shouldn't say I like it a lot, but sometimes I do, because his analysis of geopolitics can be very good. And he's very well read and stuff, but Duke Tomlinson says Fuentes needs to get laid. Yeah, that's what I told him when I had him on. His yeah, also the women thing is like, you can't really lead a movement and say like women can't vote or women shouldn't even participate in politics. It's hard to lead a political movement and just cut out the people that make all the decisions. So anyway, all right. So anyway, people are mad at JD, and then people are mad at Megan, the ADL. There's a tweet from the ADL, which is that she said in an interview that Ben Shapiro and Barry Weiss are making anti-Semites. Tucker is not making anti-Semites. They are, which the ADL claims is a classic trope of victim blaming. But I would blame the state of Israel and Jews in Israel who support what happened in Gaza of creating anti-Semites. The response to October 7th created a lot of anti-Semites. And when people see Jewish people in Israel celebrating their soldiers who rape Palestinian prisoners or that makes anti-Semites. I don't care if they call it victim blaming, but I don't think it's unfair to say that hardcore Zionists make anti-Semites by their behavior, because I think it does too. I mean, so, but the ADL, that's a classic victim blaming trope to say that, but I basically disagree with that. Ben Shapiro saying he likes Israel more than America and only supports the government if the government supports Israel. In as much as he is Jewish, that probably makes people skeptical. That's all. Crude Meister says Alex Jones is a Zionist shill. I disagree. He's not. I've kind of said that he was a little bit before. I mean, I'll just give you my controversial take. People are too focused on Israel. It's not the only issue. So when people give that criticism, like people only talk about Israel, some people really do. And blaming the death of Charlie Kirk on Israel, I think, is a symptom of that a little bit. I mean, it's not the only problem in the world, but it's a Jewish influence in politics, Zionist influence in politics. It is a big deal, but I don't think Jones is controlled by his supplement sales, pretty much. That's how he makes money. I don't think he's getting the $7,000 checks or anything. TPUSA is trying to claim with this chart that there is still heavy support for Israel, because they say only 13% of TPUSA, they released a poll. They did a straw poll at the TPUSA event, and only 13% of people said Israel is not an ally. So they say, oh, people still support Israel. TPUSA still supports Israel, still wants to be mostly pro-Israel organization in a Christian way. So Blake Neff, who's one of their operatives, put out this chart and says, look, only 13% of people think Israel is not an ally. But the underlying of the chart is actually that, let me see if you can see it. It's very small. 53% of people said it's not a top ally, which is probably a change from how polls would have been before. 53% said it's one ally amongst many, where 33% said it's a top ally. But that 33% is very loud and very influential. That's the 33% that said Ben Shapiro gave the most brave, powerful speech at the convention. And that's the 33% that think that J.D. Vance fumbled the ball by not criticizing Tucker Carlson. And they'll continue to demand it forever. So here's Jack Posobiec. So people are attacking Mark Levin because Mark Levin is attacking basically Trump, but also J.D. Vance. Mark Levin says, to all politicians and public office holders, the well-being and moral fabric of our great republic is more important than a friendship, indeed a friendship of political convenience, especially if the friend is a vile provocateur and bigot. He's talking about Tucker. Such a friendship is bad enough. Friendships are a choice. Great leaders understand this. So that's an attack at J.D. Vance. Jack Posobiec is attacking Mark Levin. Jack Posobiec trying to ride the fence. This lady Batya I see coming up on my feed, she's attacking J.D. Vance. Says VP J.D. Vance didn't denounce Nick Fuentes at TPUSA. He saved it for a British publication. Truly a profile in courage. Those anointing Vance as the 2028 GOP nominee may want to slow your roll. Leadership means having the courage of your convictions, not being afraid of podcasters. So J.D. Vance is going to try to keep groypers on board, which groypers are okay, I think. I'm kind of a groyper a little bit. But it's not so much Fuentes as it is Tucker. Here's another Jewish person, it looks like, saying, a year ago, I was so excited about J.D. Vance becoming VP. He seemed smart, articulate, principled, savvy, and optimistic. In the last couple of days, I've lost so much respect for him. It would have been such an easy ethical win in this speech to reject the witless groypers, crazy grifters, and sociopathic sellouts. Instead, he sided with some of the most insane, evil, and stupid people who have political influence in our civilization. Vance chose his side clearly and decisively. He sided with his friends against the interests of his administration, his party, and his country. He can redeem himself, but it will cost him a few relationships with former friends who have tragically turned insane, evil, and stupid. And that's just Tucker Carlson. So that's the kind of response that they're getting. Maddie Brown says, I am Tim Pool deranged. I hate him so much. Why do you hate him, Maddie Brown? Because he had called Candace a C word? You're a fan of Candace Owens, I can tell. Why do we hate? Why do we hate people? Why do we hate Tim Pool so much that we hate? We don't want to hate people. I don't like him much, but I still listen to see what people say on his show. I still think he took a principled, in a way, stand that no one was willing to take. And now everybody else has jumped on the bandwagon. Tim Pool kind of broke the ice. People have to realize the juggernaut of Candace Owens was such that people were very afraid to criticize. Just like people were afraid to not be on the QAnon bandwagon because you get attacked and you lose subscribers. I lose subscribers. Diligent Escape says, I think Tim wears a yarmulke under his South Park hat. Yeah, he goes out of his way to defend Israel a little too much. But if you notice, he did lead the way on Candace Owens, and now everybody else has jumped on that bandwagon. Everybody else was afraid to say anything. I hate Tim Pool. There's Maddie. I hate Tim Pool because of his incessant clickbait. I know. But what are you going to do? You have to get people to tune into your show and give you money if that's your job. Culture war provocation, saying it's a civil war all the time. Yeah, it's a little over the top. But now he's going to quit, I think. He's disillusioned. Many people are disillusioned. The quartering is kind of losing it. People hate him for various things. All these political podcasters, they don't like people turning against them. They don't like losing subscribers and stuff. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes being criticized. And that's it. It's all division now. It's all division. Yeah, but the quartering is super boring. I agree with that. He never really had that much talent to begin with. Mark Max says nobody likes Israel. It's not true. And some of the most influential people love Israel. But anyway, yeah, Tim Pool is annoying. He's probably going to quit. I'm working the holidays. You guys got to support this show. If you like this kind of content, then give us a coffee and stuff. We still have to do clickbait. We still talk about stupid stuff like Candace Owens drama, which gets people tuned in. But I'm also very interested. I'm kind of worried about her followers a little bit. That's all. Because it's kind of like the whole thing is kind of like breaking down at this point. I'm getting better viewership than Tim Pool. Oh no, I wish. We're building though. The show is growing for people who care about this show. We are growing slowly. We're getting back our feet. Okay, this is what else Israel is trying to do to us. They're trying to bring us to make us attack Iran with them. So I'll play you that.
And Israeli officials are warning that Iran may be rebuilding its ballistic missile program and that they plan to brief President Trump on the matter. That's according to an NBC News report Saturday, citing a person with direct knowledge of the plans and 4 U.S. officials. That report says Israel is increasingly concerned that Iran is rebuilding and possibly expanding production of its ballistic missile program following the 12-day war in June. Officials also warn Iran may be reconstituting nuclear enrichment sites destroyed by U.S. strikes earlier this year. Now, reports say Prime Minister Netanyahu plans to push for another military strike during a meeting with President Trump this week. And Israeli officials are warning.
Apparently, to Trump's credit, apparently he's telling them no. That we do control Israel a little bit. They can't do things without us. So, in the extent that Israel controls us, we kind of control Israel because Trump is telling them not to take. They wanted to annex the West Bank. With our approval, they would, and they don't have our approval right now. They want to attack Iran, but I think Trump is telling them no. But Netanyahu's coming on the 29th to ask about this stuff because they want Iran to be completely like they're doing to Hamas. They want to take away all their ability to defend themselves. Teresa said, I'm not sure how to buy you a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. Buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. You can do it after the show if you want. If you do it during the show, I can give you a shout out. You can leave a comment and stuff. Lindsey Graham, who Trump supports and hates Thomas Massey, Lindsey Graham, who Trump supports and hates Thomas Massie, it says, oh yeah, he's like salivating. Lindsey Graham is like, oh yeah, Iran's up to no good. Let's do some bombing. Let's get in there. Let Israel do whatever the F they want.
Iran, they're up to no good. We obliterated the Iranian nuclear facilities. We did not obliterate Iran's desire to have a nuclear weapon. The regime hadn't changed at all. They still want to kill all the Jews, consider America the great Satan, and purify Islam. Are they regenerating their nuclear capability? Are they building more ballistic missiles that could hurt Europe and Israel? I don't know, but there's evidence that suggests they are. I would recommend, if there's credible evidence that Iran is going back into the enrichment business at other sites, that they're trying to build more ballistic missiles to terrorize Israel and maybe Europe, that we hit them before they can do that.
There we go. Preemptive strike.
One thing I've learned about radical Islam, the only language it understands is force. So I am hopeful we can put Hamas on a time clock. The trend lines in Lebanon are, quite frankly, optimistic. The Lebanese government has decided to call for Hezbollah to disarm. If Hezbollah gave up their heavy weapons, that would be a godsend for Lebanon and the region. If Hezbollah refuses to give up their heavy weapons, down the road, we should engage in military operations working with Lebanon, Israel, and the United States, where we fly with Israel, like we did with Iran, to take Hezbollah out. Once you take Hamas and Hezbollah off the table, two proxies of Iran, the likelihood of a Saudi-Israel deal goes up dramatically. I think Lebanon would be a good candidate to expand the Abraham Accords once Hezbollah is dealt with. So Hezbollah either voluntarily gives up their heavy weapons, or we have to come up with a military campaign to achieve that goal.
Okay, so this is just, it's just a step. It's just like one thing after another to expand the borders of Israel, basically. One thing after another. Lebanon, etc. You just have to disarm anybody who's a barrier to the Greater Israel Project. And here's what Lindsey Graham says about the president in 2028.
I can't imagine a nominee in 2028 being the Republican nominee. If you want to run for president as a Republican in 2028 and you don't show strong support for Israel, I don't think you can win. To our friends on the Democratic side, I hope you'll up your game. I hope you'll realize that Israel's not the problem. The problem for peace is not Israel. I can't imagine.
Well, some people think it is. Seems like they're the ones that bomb everybody. October 7th happened. That's true. But it seems like they may have allowed it to happen. Nobody wants an inquiry into why there was such a security failure. It certainly was convenient for Israel's desires. So that's Lindsey Graham. He says whoever's going to be president needs to support Israel. J.D. Vance is not going to that much. Should I get into the Epstein stuff? All right, let's talk about Epstein. I can just talk about it, I think. Hiker Chick says Lady Graham. Yeah, he may be a trans. He may be a female. I mean, if I were going to pick somebody, if I was going to make a series of podcasts, I would say, yeah, maybe Lady Graham. He may be a female to male trans. He has very small hands, small shoulders. He's slight. So as far as the stuff from Epstein files, the Epstein files came out. There were a few crazy things. There was some AI generated video of Epstein in his cell trying to kill himself. That was really weird for a minute, but then they figured out it was just fake. Something that was sent to the feds. Came off 4chan or something. There's evidence of them covering up Trump's name in certain documents. there's an allegation against Trump that came out that he raped a girl who ended up killing herself. The government says that's not true. I tend to believe it. That's not true. I don't think Trump really did anything with the young girls. He was into young girls, but not necessarily illegally young. But he did have his modeling agency. He did have his talent shows. He liked going in the dressing room. He liked young women for sure. But they also finally released something that said there were co-conspirators, and they blocked out the names of most of them except for Jean-Luc Brunel and Les Wexner. But they were, when they were trying Jeffrey Epstein, looking into co-conspirators. And that finally came out, which goes against what Kash Patel and the administration was trying to tell you, which is that there was nobody else involved. That's not true. Thomas Massie knows it's not true. Ro Khanna knows it's not true. They know that other men were accused of being involved, including Alan Dershowitz. This is what Kash Patel said about it, which is fake news.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file. There is no credible information.
Documents came out that there were 10 co-conspirators, including Maxwell, who are being looked into, including Jean-Luc Brunel and Les Wexner. Those are definitely people who are accused of being co-conspirators or accused of sex crimes. And now they're finally coming out with a document that says that, but there are other documents that will say that Thomas Massie knows about that accuse other powerful men of having committed sex crimes and of girls being trafficked. And we know that Virginia Giuffre accused Jeffrey Epstein of trafficking her to Prince Andrew, amongst others. Also a prime. She seemed to have been their main girl, Virginia Giuffre. And she accused him of trafficking her to other people. And there's the picture with Prince Andrew, and Prince Andrew gave a terrible excuse. And I think that she wasn't lying about that based on the evidence. So it's really weird that the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, said there's no evidence. And it was super weird when Pam Bondi came out in the spring and said, oh yeah, we have no evidence of anybody else being involved. We have no evidence of child trafficking or trafficking, whether it was children or adult women. That's a lie. And that's why Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie want to show the original charging document from the original case, which got the sweetheart deal in Florida. So we have liars in the government, including Trump. What did Trump say? I have that. This is what Trump said. He said he feels sorry for Bill Clinton being in the pictures. He feels sorry for the men who are pictured who are totally innocent.
Surprised by the number of photos of Bill Clinton in the Epstein files, and can you commit to their full? What? And were you surprised by the number of photos of Bill Clinton in the Epstein files? And can you commit to their full release by the end of the year? Some of the victims were protesting that too many of them were redacted.
I know there are a lot of people that are angry about all of the pictures of other people, but I think it's terrible. Look, I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him, but this is what the Democrats, mostly Democrats, and a couple of bad Republicans are asking for. So they're giving their photos of me too. Everybody was friendly with this guy, either friendly or not friendly, but he was around. He was all over Palm Beach and other places. The head of Harvard was his best friend, Larry Summers. And Bill Clinton was a friend of his, but everybody was. I actually threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. And as a You know, it's a person that was in Mar-a-Lago. I threw him out. Mar-a-Lago, this is Mar-a-Lago. It's the hottest place I think it's the hottest place in the world, but it's the hottest place in Florida. And everybody would come here. He'd come here. We actually threw him out. But no, I don't like the pictures of Bill Clinton being shown. I don't like the pictures of other people being shown. I think it's a terrible thing. I think Bill Clinton's a big boy. He can handle it. But you probably have pictures being exposed of other people that innocently met Jeffrey Epstein years ago, many years ago. And they're, highly respected bankers and lawyers and others. And they'll end up, because of guys like Massey, who's a real lowlife, whose polls are down to about 9%, by the way, in the great state of Kentucky. If you look at Kentucky, Kentucky is such a great place, but I don't know, they've got a couple of people in there that are very strange in terms of leadership. But Massey's a loser, and he likes it, and that he works with the Democrats. He's just being used by the Democrats, because what this whole thing is with Epstein is a way of trying to deflect from the tremendous success that the Republican Party has. Like, for instance, today we're building the biggest ships in the world, most powerful ships in the world, and they're asking me questions about Jeffrey Epstein. I thought that was finished. I believe they gave over 100,000 pages of documents, and there is tremendous backlash. It's an interesting question, because a lot of people are very angry that pictures are being released of other people that really had nothing to do with Epstein, but they're in a picture with him because he was at a party, and you ruin a reputation of somebody. So a lot of people are very angry that this continues. A lot of Republicans are angry because of the fact that it's just used to deflect against a tremendous success. Look, we have $18 trillion coming into our country. We have, I believe, we're going to have the most successful economy in history.
Yeah, there you go. He hates Massey, who's one of the best, who's actually trying to reveal the information. And Massey still could actually say the names of the men he knows. He knows the specific men who are accused. And he might say it on the House floor. I see people in the chat saying they hate Trump. Trump thinks that the men in the pictures are the victims. Trump thinks that the men who have been accused are the victims. The names of people accused of being perpetrators are being treated as if they're victims. The administration thinks those are the victims. The innocent men who were friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Steve Bannon, I guess. We really have to wonder about Steve. He was trying to work on a documentary to rehab Epstein's image right before he was arrested. Trump says everything's doing great. Trump says they're just trying to distract. But there are documents that point fingers. And if the Trump administration has their way, they're going to redact all of the names of the powerful men who are implicated, because they're innocent victims. So I see how you are all reacting to it. Yes, Trump is losing support over this issue in a big way. He says things are going great. Well, they're saying the economy's great. Today, more information came out, 4.3% GDP growth, if you believe that. Blew away all estimates. 4.3% GDP growth. The average estimate was like 3.6. Okay. Spending is way up. Spending is way up. Because of the tariffs, we have more exports compared to imports. That inflates the number. But his sycophants like David Sachs, who I don't like. David Sachs is his AI and tech bro, who constantly goes out saying we're in the golden age. He said today we are in the golden age. 4.3% GDP. Well, most of the spending, I'll show you a chart. Most of the spending was on healthcare. What's happening is the boomers have all the money and do all of the spending. So consumer spending was up, but 50% of consumer spending is from the top 10%. Most of the top 10% is boomers. And also most of the spending was on increased costs of health care. So old sick boomers are being fleeced. And the biggest industries right now, the best jobs, are in healthcare because the rich people are the old people. So here's a chart of how spending breaks down. You see that top bar? That's healthcare. So GDP for Q3, change in personal consumption by category. Look at the top bar. That's all healthcare. That's because health insurance prices are going up and boomers are dying. So they're getting fleeced for their money, and that's contributing to GDP growth. So if you think it's good that we have great GDP growth because people are sick and dying, or they're spending more money on health insurance, that's where the GDP growth comes from. And the rest of it comes from the top 10%. Everybody else says their life sucks. But this is the golden age. So I wanted to report on that too. All right. I think that's all I need to report on for today. Let me check my coffees. Thanks, people, for supporting the show. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, Christmas Eve, and maybe even Christmas Day, if we can get pulled away from watching the football games. We're here for those people who still need a podcast to listen to. And we post it as a podcast too. I'll have to make sure to download it and post the podcast too. So we're helping you guys out on the holidays. If you want to help me out, I appreciate it. I will look at my coffees now. Let's see. Buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. Smokey the Bear bought a coffee. Thank you, Smokey. Says howdy. Thank you. That's a coffee. The Branch bought a coffee. Says, I think you are a good-looking guy. No homo, though. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. No homo indeed. Julie Satriani bought a coffee, and someone bought a coffee and did not leave notes. You can also become a member at buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil if you want to support the ongoing nature of this show, and I super appreciate my members. So, and buy a t-shirt. Should I run another ad for the store? Buy a t-shirt while you still can. $10 and $5 t-shirts. I'll show you them once again in case you just tuned in late. We're having an amazing sale. They'll be on sale until they sell out, but many are sold out. So while you still can, check out these shirts. Truth Matters, the propaganda shirt, Question Everything shirts, Bitcoin shirts. Lift the Veil female shirt. We still have some in stock. And khaki, if you just like Lift the Veil, that's $5. So we have a lot of women's designs on there. Check them out. They're super high quality screen printed shirts. They're not cheap. They're just cheap now because they're on a closeout sale. So we're going out of business. Bearable Pain, no more In the Fed. Nope. No more lots of shirts. They're all limited edition. So if things go well, maybe one day I'll order shirts again and sell them for full price. But for now, we're clearing out. If things go well enough, we might order shirts again and sell them at full price if we think we can get them. But it has to be a certain amount because there are costs associated with it. That's all. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a Merry Christmas. I will almost certainly see you tomorrow if you want to tune in around the same time. All right. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the coffees. I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys are having a good holiday. We're about to get floods and crazy weather here in California. So pray for us. Hopefully my internet will stay active. All right. And for now, that's what